Hi, I'm Betinis of Pezband, and I'm here today in the studio with my good friend and producer extraordinaire, John Pavletic. John has produced a bunch of my solo albums, as well as Pezband's cover-to-cover album, which we are going to be talking about today. The big news that it has been remixed and remastered by John and will be out on April 5th.
Mimi had the tapes digitized, the multi-tracks, and they sat around for a while, and I started working on them in the summer, maybe even late spring. And it was hundreds and hundreds of hours to get them in shape, get them to sound like I wanted them to. And it was kind of a lot of pressure near the deadline. But at this point, I think it sounds great. It sounds like it always should have, but wasn't able to make it sound that way back in the old days.
Well, a little bit of history on this record. It was done in 1979, and about that time, the group was running out of money, so most of the record was recorded at a rented house here in the suburbs of Chicago. We rented a house and recorded everything there.
Well, we recorded the basics at the rented house. That was done on a small 8-track that you'd normally have in a little home studio or a songwriting studio. So we've got the 8-track tape. We went back to the studio. We dumped them at that point to a 16-track and started doing the vocal overdubs and a few guitar overdubs at the studio. Right in the middle of all of this, we moved up to a 2-inch 24-track.
MCI.
And so the tapes got dumped another time onto the really pro machine.
And then we went in the backyard and ate pears because the studio had 3 pear trees. Okay, John, would you tell our listening audience how you got involved with the project?
Well, I'd met you guys in Pezband a few times. We played together on the same bill at some clubs, and so I knew you from way back when. The first time it was a studio deal was when you guys needed to mix the 30 Seconds Over Schaumburg EP. And so you came by Tanglewood, which was getting finished up at that point, construction-wise, and we ended up mixing the tape that was recorded by one of your sound guys?
Jeff Rochline.
He did a great job on recording the tracks. I just mixed it, and we got it to sound really good in the studio as a mix, and that turned out very well. So when you guys had your third album project ready to go, you needed to find a studio where you could do it. And, you know, there wasn't a big budget, then we cut a good deal because we wanted to get some real records out there from the brand new studio. So it kind of worked out great for both of us, except for money.
But Tanglewood was the studio of choice. Well, over the years, I have heard from many people that they loved the cover-to-cover record, but they felt the sound of it wasn't quite up to standard, which we are talking about things that were recorded and mastered in 79, and now we're in 2019, so things have changed quite a bit, right, John?
Well, in the first place, we were working with some pretty low-end semi-pro gear just to get the basics done in that house. But when we came back to the studio and started overdubbing, that all went fine. The problem, I think, was the mixing. We were putting new monitors in the studio at the same time that we were trying to finish this record. The room hadn't been trapped and tuned at that point. We really couldn't hear what was on the tape at the time because we were literally finishing building the studio around it.
Okay, let's roll back to 2018. And I had the crazy idea of taking the digitized tapes and getting the whole record redone and remastered and get it redid.
We had the tapes here for a while, and I finally dug in last summer, late spring, whatever, And it took a long, long time, but we were now in Pro Tools with all of the tracks digitized, and I had 1,000 times more opportunities to fix things, rearrange things, change some of the production on some of the songs. Stuff we couldn't do back in 1979 because we didn't have anywhere near that much gear, or reverbs or delays and compressors and all the things we have now in Pro Tools. So I was able to make the record sound the way I thought it should have sounded, but we never had the time or gear or budget back then to come close to that, let alone discussing the problems we had with the studio room tuning. As it was being built, we were recording this record and the studio wasn't really even finished. So I think it turned out great. I think any Pez fans that hear it are going to be really excited about it because I think it sounds like a modern record right now.
It sure does, and considering it's all been done in your little home studio here with Pro Tools and speakers, and that's just about it.
Yeah, everything in the computer now is all we need to make a good sounding record. So I'm really happy with the way it turned out, and so far the initial response has been great from all the people that have heard it, so looking good.
Great.